Growing up in rural Ireland, HIV was never talked about at all. And not just HIV, like sexual health wasn't talked about, romantic relationships or like hookups or anything. So I think my first impression of what HIV was what you'd see in movies, musicians or actors or like the queer people who died during the AIDS epidemic. My name's Adrian. I am 23 years old. I am a HIV activist. I'm also studying to be a nurse. I was diagnosed with HIV when I was 17. It was quite a shock. I had gone to my GP to get an STI test. I got all these missed calls from the GP's office. And I think from that point, I kind of knew that something was wrong. My doctor brought me to her office and she told me that I was HIV positive. When I heard that, I kind of just tuned out. There was definitely fear there. There was apprehension. I wasn't sure how I was going to tell my family. And I also think shame as well as me not knowing a lot about HIV. My dad's idea of what HIV was based off his lived experience of being in the 80s, of living in New York. So he was also scared. My dad, obviously, was very supportive. Once the news kind of settled, he brought me to my first appointment, which I think was really important because it was overwhelming, and to have him there made all the difference.
I lived in New York, and HIV and AIDS were rampant at the time there, and it was a very, very sad time because an awful lot of people died. And it was tough because there was a stigma to it as well, and I remember going for my green card at the time, and I had to do a HIV test. If you failed your HIV test, you didn't get your green card. And that now has all changed thanks to medication and thanks to treatment. The fact that Adrian is helping to raise that awareness, he show people that, you can live a very normal, healthy life. So many people are not aware of that.
I wrote an article in a paper about being 17 when I was diagnosed with HIV. It was the 1st of December. It was World AIDS Day. I'd written the article. I was getting good feedback from it. And I went out that night and Veda pulled me on stage and was like, Adrian has an announcement. And yeah, I told everyone at the church that night that I was HIV positive. The love and support I received from all these people who I would later get to know are called the Positive Tribe, which is a group of us who are living with HIV and open about that and advocating for our needs. I got to meet them all. I was on their podcast. I told my story there. Over time, I just developed really close relationships with all these people, and I started to ask myself, okay, well, what can I do more? As part of the Positive Tribe, one of the things that we have been working on is the You, Me and HIV. Telling our own stories, emphasizing the message that on effective treatment, a person living with HIV can't pass it on. We've been working with the HSE to promote this campaign. If the average person sees themselves in a member of the tribe, then it makes them also understand that HIV can affect anyone. My dad's name is Pat. He works in construction. I remember when I was a child, I'd go down to his shed and put random pieces of wood together. Over the summer holidays, I'd often work with him on site. Our language for understanding each other is through working with our hands.
We did a lot of it during COVID, during lockdown. We used to come over here and lock ourselves in here and just work away. And Adrian did a huge amount of work actually on it. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him, to be honest about it. And we enjoyed it. He would have been good in construction, but he wasn't for him. He just chose a different path in life, which I'm absolutely thrilled with.
Dad's always been really supportive of me and the decisions I make. I think over the past few years, he's seen what a difference it's made to not just me personally, but to others about talking about HIV and being open about my status and trying to dispel these myths and misinformation. I feel initially, obviously, he maybe didn't really understand what it was that I was aiming to do. As kind of time went on, he began to realize that actually still a lot of stigma and misinformation that exists about HIV. As he's gotten to know that and gotten to know the work that I'm trying to do, he's been really supportive in that.
People in a situation with HIV and stuff like that, they know where to go or know where to turn to. He's absolutely doing a fantastic job. He's filled the gap there, so to speak. So, and especially for young people.
I'm really lucky to have a dad that cares so much about the work that I do because he knows that I care about it. Having the support of my dad and my sisters over the Pos 5 tribe enabled me to not just live with HIV, but also thrive with it and really explore what that means, what it means to be an activist, like what can I do to get the messages I want to get out there. I went into nursing because I always wanted to work with people, help people, and get a lot of fulfillment out of that. Being HIV positive and seeing the difference a person can make. It's that care and empathy, and that was what I got from like that nurse that day that I went to St. James's. I really felt like that would be such a lovely thing to be able to do.
There was this old expression we used to use in New York, the great humanitarian. Like Adrian to me is a great humanitarian because his focus really is on helping people out, and and he's taken on a career that's like basically based on looking after people. So I mean, I'm so proud of that, and I think it's wonderful what he does. We've been through a lot as a family, and Adrian has taken up the role of looking after the people, and that's wonderful.
What would I say to young people living with HIV today? Firstly, find your community. You're not alone. There's lots of us. HIV also doesn't define you, It's just a virus in your blood, and it's not doing anything because you're taking your medication. If you're on effective treatment, you can't pass it on. It can't make you sick. I think a lot of people might be wondering why we're talking about HIV, why we're having this campaign. When people think of HIV, they think back to the 80s and they think about the AIDS crisis. And we've kind of just forgotten that it's still existing. People are still getting HIV. While we're very lucky to have the treatments that we do have today, stigma still affects a lot of people. It's really important that we dispel those, because when we dispel them and when we have conversations about HIV, we get to empower people to get tested, to get on treatment if they need it. These are the only ways that we can, end HIV in general. We need to get people tested, treated, we need people to know their status. And in order to do that, we need to keep talking about it.